All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of Zone Zero, where all stories begin. This podcast is all about sharing real conversation with real people who are building something from scratch. My name is Ali, and I quit my 9-to-5 job to chase my own thing. And here I am. I'm sitting with entrepreneurs, business owners to learn and share their experience and knowledge with you. Hope you enjoy this episode. What would make a guy leave his family business, risk it all, and bet on himself in a field people don't trust? Today's guest is Bassel Haidar, a financial pro with a mission, teaching people what school never taught us. He's talking money, mindset, and helping people to build their own crew. We are driving into the raw of truth of entrepreneurship, fake flakes, culture, and what actually takes to build your team from zero. Let's get into it. Bassel, thank you very much for joining me for the first episode.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'll give you the mic to introduce yourself in the way and tell us your story. What was your Zone Zero?
Absolutely. Yeah. So first, I'd like to start by thanking you guys for having me here. This is actually my first podcast that I got invited to. So I appreciate you for that. You guys did such a wonderful job just talking about the event, touching base with me. So I love the fact that we got together because I know how busy you are as well with your business. So, the biggest thing I want to start with is I moved here when I was 15.
Right.
When I first moved here, I moved here with my family. My dad was very, very helpful when it came to us immigrating to this country because he already built a business. Mm-hmm. And as a business owner, he owned one of the best restaurants in town till this day, I believe, which, as you know, we make donuts.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Right, Al Basel. So that's where, I worked at a young age, being inspired by my dad to be a business owner. Mm-hmm. And as I went throughout high school, school never really made sense to me, per se. I learned throughout, life and obviously my experiences with work and throughout working with my dad, everything that I know today. Mm-hmm. In fact, everything what I know today keeps getting better and better because I keep learning every single day. And one of the biggest things that I saw working with my dad is the fact that he was able to build his own schedule. Mm-hmm. He was able to dictate where his life was going, right? Decide exactly where he wanted to go. And I love the fact of being a business owner. That's why after high school, post-secondary was not really something I considered. Mm-hmm. I worked with my dad in the restaurant, doing the late night shifts that no one wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Being the son of the owner, I actually got the most crap, right? And that's how I learned growing up. But I'm very thankful for that because it shaped the mentality and the mindset that I have today. Mm-hmm. And throughout, working with my dad, I was able to meet a lot of other people in different businesses. When the pandemic happened and our restaurant had to shut down, unfortunately, that's when I actually realized I had no skills or experience or, education to provide to the marketplace. I didn't know that we live in a capitalistic system at the time. Mm-hmm. I started learning about it more and more through entrepreneurship. But once I started seeing that I got to really exchange value for money rather than time for money, that's when I really started to see where I can go in life. Mm-hmm. And one of the industries I looked at was finance, because I realized financial literacy is not really something we're taught about even when we first came here. Mm-hmm. My dad, very successful business owner, but owning multiple locations, retirement was still out of the picture. Mm-hmm. That didn't make sense to me, growing up watching how hard my dad worked. And then at the end of the day, still a lot of the financial goals he wasn't able to meet. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to have the same story, if that kind of makes sense.
100%. But if we look at it in terms of the comfort zone, it's very hard to break that mental prison that we call it nowadays. But what motivated you that you push forward and just step out of your comfort zone?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, everyone has a certain level of their comfort zone. I believe every single day you have to get out of your comfort zone in order to force change because the comfort zone is just like a deadly drug. Once you get attached to it, you just cannot let it go. For me, what helped me make that switch was being sick and tired of being sick and tired. Mm-hmm. I realized, wow, if I keep depending on my dad, if I keep depending on my dad's business, I mean, my dad did everything he could. He brought us to Canada, right? He gave us a life to live. It's really shameful for me if I don't do right by him and by myself. Mm-hmm. So I felt a huge responsibility of being the oldest son in the family. And I'm like, I got to build something else just in case when the pandemic happened, for example, if something like that happens again, I don't want to rely on my dad. I want to build something for myself, if that makes sense.
That's great. 100%. I totally agree on that. And that's one of the reasons why myself, I quit the 9-to-5 job. because
Exactly.
same thing. I just don't want to work for somebody else. And I know that it's a limit. And of course, I want to get out from the limitation. I want to explore more.
Absolutely.
100%. But what specifically got you into the financial? Was it somebody got you into it, or you did this study and then you find yourself into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So how it all started was during COVID, I was reading about all these posts about people getting into cryptocurrency, stock trading, and everything like that. And when COVID initially started, I was still operating my dad's restaurant. I was making a good income and everything, and I'm very thankful for it. But the reality is I wanted something more out of life, and I felt like investing was going to get me there. I didn't know anything about investing per se, but I decided that I wanted to learn. So I started experimenting, buying assets here and there by myself, downloading exchanges and everything like that. And then I came across one of my friends who was actually a welder. At the time when we graduated high school, he was doing really well. But I caught up with him and he was telling me that he got into a new industry because he broke his back and he can't operate in that industry anymore. We started talking about it. He tells me that he got into finance and he became an independent professional, and he started teaching people about financial literacy and such. And I resonated with that because I was like, man, nobody even teaches us how to do trades, taxation, different accounts, how assets work. You go to the bank majority of the time and you ask professionals there who are supposed to be professionals, but they don't actually give you education. They just want to sell you a product. Does that kind of make sense? 100%. So for me, when I, started asking him more questions, I realized he was acting more as a consultant and pointing me in the right direction of financial literacy, where he offered different sessions at no cost, took me through them, right? Gave me even a financial needs assessment. And I really loved that because I was like, man, this is great. Like the fact that this guy gets to do this, on Zoom from the comfort of his own home, make a switch like that in his life, that inspired me because, again, I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And when I looked at the industry, I looked at the potential behind it, the demand behind it for something like this, I got really inspired.
That's great, man. That's great. That's great to hear. Absolutely. And so you brought up the people like that work in the bank. They do have information. They try to advise you, but it's not really an advice. Do you think that's wrong from the banks or from the school system that is teaching those kind of bases?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a combination of many different things. If you look at the school system in general, and we just go back to the basics of things in general, they don't really teach us anything about the banking system, debt, credit cards. I even remember when I went to high school, I would go and I asked my teachers, like, hey, how does a credit card work? Like, should I get a credit card? First thing they would all tell me is, why don't you go see a bank and talk to them? Why are you talking to me? Now, again, maybe they said that because they don't want to help, or maybe they don't have the information. But when you ask a simple question like that, like, you should have some sort of an answer. And I remember even my first experience when I went to the bank, I just turned 18 and I heard about a TFSA, tax-free savings account. I'm like, oh, I should go open that up. I don't know much about it. So I went into the bank and I started asking questions from the teller. They were telling me, oh, you got to meet with a financial agent. That's going to take about 3 to 4 weeks. Then when the appointment came up, he had to reschedule. So it took me about 2 months to meet him, which was very frustrating, very annoying, especially when you want to learn, you want to get things done. And then when I finally met with him, I was asking him questions and he seemed a little bit frustrated. At the end, he just started telling me, hey, do you want to put your investments here? Do you want to put them here? He never educated me about risk or time horizon or how investments work or different types of investments. And that's really what turned me off. And I actually walked out of the bank. I didn't end up opening a TFSA because I got really sketched out. And especially when you ask, these professionals, like, where do you put your money? And they can't really answer that question. That's when like 100% there's something going on.
Yeah, the thing is, I had the same experience actually with one of the banks here local. They advised me to open that several times, and they have several of plans, and that got me confused at some point. And now I skipped it because they just like pushed a lot of information I don't understand, and they don't simplify it to me the way that I understand it, right? And got me just in a way to skip that and just to go, okay, let me just do a whole research about it, then get back to it probably
100%.
But let's say someone who wants to open a business and he wants to learn about money, how the bank works, what he should do.
Well, first thing I want to actually comment on one thing you said there with the last question. When it comes to banks in general, just to clarify, they're great institutions, but what most people don't understand is that that's usually on the branch banking side. There's also the private level banking side that not a lot of people are aware of. And usually they target the highest net worth individuals. So that's where you get actual financial literacy, different types of education. They can help you with certain needs. But branch banking, they usually have hourly employees operating there. So because we don't know that, majority of the time, understanding finance can be complicated. And I say this because we also work with the banks too, and they're incredible, especially for different purposes. But the reality is they're just branch banking institutions. You know what I mean? They're supposed to just give you a product or a service. So just wanted to kind of touch on that because I think it's important.
100%.
But yeah, going back to your question of starting a business, I think you got to always start out with knowledge. That's really where everything starts. Now, with today's information and how easy it is to get information today with the fingertips and internet and everything like that, it makes it hard to apply the knowledge. A lot of people can have the knowledge, but they can't apply the knowledge. So it's very important to have the right association. It's very important to have the right knowledge and education about where you want to start. And it's very important to know exactly why you're doing it. See, a lot of us create goals. A lot of us create, milestones we want to reach. But if we don't have a proper why that pulls us toward that goal, then we're not going to move. It's kind of the same thing as saying, I want to lose 10 pounds, for example, as a goal. If my why is, I just want to look lighter on the scale, I'm not really going to get up in the morning. I'm probably going to hit the snooze. I'm not going to go to the gym. But if my why was, well, I got a wedding coming up and I have a tux that I bought for $3,000. I don't want to buy a new tux, but that tux doesn't fit me. I have to lose 10 pounds. Or let's say I met a girl, I really like her, she's really active and she's fit. I need to get fit to impress her. Now my why just changed. So you tell me, would I wake up in the morning to hit the gym? Would I hit the fitness?
Yeah, 100%.
100%, because the why completely changed. So if you have these basics around you with the right knowledge, with the right people to show you how to apply that knowledge, association, for example, is what changed my life completely. I never knew this at the time, but when I was working at the restaurant, even though I loved the people that I was working with, they were a negative circle. And it's kind of like the crab bucket analogy. Have you ever heard of the crab bucket analogy before? No? So imagine you put a bucket in front of you with a bunch of crabs inside of it, and they're all stacked up on top of each other. You'll see a couple of crabs from the bucket try to climb up and try to escape. Everything beneath them, all the crabs beneath them, they start pulling them down. Why? Because these crabs think if you go up and you escape, now we have no excuse not to stay here and dwell on our pain. So when you have those circles around you, they also pull you down when you're actually elevating in life. And that could be with anything. That could be with education, that could be with knowledge, that can be with the type of people you're spending time with or relationships you're building. So it's very important to be aware of that, if that makes sense.
100%. And does this comes, so you talk a lot about motivation, keeping people to know their goals and that, but are you like the type who believe in motivation and discipline, or motivation alone? Like, what is the difference between them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I believe discipline is more of a standard. I believe motivation is something that everyone needs. I hear a lot of people talking about, I don't want motivation, I don't want this. Okay, true, but everyone needs motivation to get out of bed. Everyone needs motivation to pay rent. Like, why is it that people pay their rent on time every single month, even though there's a lot of people struggling financially right now? It's because it's a standard. If you don't pay your rent, you're kicked out. So you're disciplined to work, you're disciplined to put in the hours, you're disciplined to make that paycheck. But also you need motivation for that. Because if you just have discipline and as a standard, but there's no motivation, there's no, let's say, why factor pulling you towards that, and it's not strong enough, then, you probably obviously won't be as consistent with it, if that makes sense.
But is it motivation considered as the emotions? And as you know, you don't have the motivation every day to go to the gym or to keep going with the study. What comes in here, it's discipline more than a motivation.
100%. Yeah. Motivation is all emotion. You need to have discipline as a standard. For example, your discipline could be to hit the gym a certain amount of time or eat a certain amount of food, right? Or whatever that could be. That's more of a standard that you have to keep up in order to hit your goal, in order to hit your milestone. But you still need motivation, which is emotion, right? You still need to feel good about it. Because think about it. If you don't feel good about something, why would you do more of it? But if you feel good about it, there's more of a chance that you're going to do more of it consistently.
100%, 100%. And when you started your business and going through that, did you lose your circles? Like, did you had to leave your circles to keep going into your path? Because as you know, not all the people around you would support you in the path you're going, especially if something is unique and something is not normal for people.
100%. Yeah. I mean, the way it depends on your perspective and the way you look at it. I never really cut out people. I did lose people. For sure. I mean, at the end of the day, when you surround yourself with different type of association and then you start to change and then you go back to your old association, they'll start saying things like, you know, you're changing, or I don't know who you are, which is actually a good thing. You don't want a person to stay the same. You want them to change to the better. So the reality is, yeah, I did lose some friends. Maybe a lot of people don't really talk to me as much anymore, or maybe they did block me. I mean, I don't know. I don't really pay attention to that. The reality is, I know for a fact that I'm headed in the right way and it's going to attract the right people around me. Plus, I limited my time with a lot of people that I had a good relationship with, but they were still negative. You know, to give you an example, my parents were mainly against me when I first started. If you put yourself in my parents' shoes, my dad built an amazing business and he had the oldest son. In his mind, oh, I'm going to give this business to my oldest son and he's going to run it and he's going to make me passive income and everything like that, which was the game plan. But imagine going, you know, to my dad and being like, hey, you know, I might quit the restaurant because I'm starting in the financial industry that I have no idea, you know, how to run or what to do or anything like that. Obviously, he wasn't stoked about it. So in my first year, there was a lot of resistance from my mom, from my dad. Hey, you should come back to the restaurant. Like, we'll pay you more. We'll give you this. We'll give you that. But the idea was, it wasn't about the money for me, because if it was about the money, I mean, I could easily go back to my family business and I could just run stuff there and I can make good money. But the reason I came here was because I wanted to build an identity. You know, and that identity, I knew it was going to take me to places that I never thought possible. Because there's a big difference between someone who's, you know, rich and someone who's wealthy. There's a lot of rich people out there that never really built the skills, and maybe they got lucky with it. Maybe they had an inheritance, whatever that could be. But a wealthy person is a person that you can take everything away from them, throw them in the desert. They have the characteristics, they have the identity, right? To rebuild everything, no problem. I always wanted to be that wealthy person.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I have a question in regard to that. We had in one of our meeting off camera, we were talking about, there was one thing I wasn't understanding back then, which was, you told me it's not about the money, it's about the person you become.
That's right.
You told me the answer, but I would like you to explain this answer to the people listening, because I think it's very important so people know.
100%, yeah. You know, one of my mentors, God bless his soul, he always says, your identity will always outpace your reality. So what that means is, let's say, for example, if I'm a person that makes $1 million a year, would I be a person that shows up to this podcast 30 minutes late, or would I show up 5 minutes earlier?
Of course, 5 minutes earlier.
5 minutes earlier. Would I hit the snooze in the morning when I wake up to do my work, to do my schedule, to hit the gym, or would I actually wake up on time?
Wake up on time, of course.
Wake up on time, right? Would I be a person that makes a promise to someone and actually make it? Like, let's say, for example, I'll see you tomorrow, let's do the podcast, and then last minute, I change my mind. Or maybe something comes up or whatever that is, and I make those changes. Would I be a person that shows up regardless, or would I be a person that just flakes? You know? So what that means is, the money's great. Sure, you're going to make a lot of money in really any business you create, because when you create a business, you're providing value to the marketplace, essentially. But the reality is, it's the person you become throughout the journey and throughout the process. If you put 3 years back me in front of me right now, I wouldn't even recognize that person. Because they were always late. They were always lazy. They never maintained promises. They backstabbed people. They never showed up when they told people they would show up with anything. And on top of it, they weren't a very nice person. Like, back in the day, because I worked in the service industry, believe it or not, I hated people. Because I was always dealing with people every single day. And it wasn't feeling like I was feeling my fullest potential. So every time I served someone, when you're serving like 100, 150 people a day and everybody's screaming at you, everybody asking you for stuff, you get stressed out. You get to a point where you don't really want to deal with anyone. So it turned me more of an introvert at the time. But now I'm a completely different person where, dude, I love people. Like, I love sitting down with someone and being like, hey, tell me more about, your story. Tell me more about where you come from. Tell me more about your family. I would love to know more about your business. I would love to know more about where your story is. To me, that's the best part about my business today. And that's what excites me the most.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. I'm glad that you are going through all that and overcome the
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I've seen like I've known you for 2 years now.
Same to you, man. I mean, you've been through a lot as well. And now you got this beautiful podcast, this beautiful team here. So
appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. And we all have bad days, right? And when you have those bad days, you comes to you feeling low and that, do you have people like you check on you, or you just yourself?
And that's a great question. Yeah, big time. I do believe having the right mentors around you is what's going to drive you forward. For example, one of my mentors today, I'll give him a shout out, Nima. This guy, completely changed my thinking, completely changed the way I operate and everything like that as well. And I talk to him almost on a daily basis. But he not only holds me accountable, he reminds me of my potential. So whenever I'm facing something or I'm not feeling the best or whatever that is, yeah, I can be a self-coach for sure. I can get myself out of different things. And he has a lot of videos on YouTube that he's taught us as well, where he can explain that too. He has a YouTube channel, which is amazing. There's a lot of value. But the reality is having mentors is very, very important, because especially in our business, what I love about it is that you're in business for yourself, but you're not by yourself. So you have someone there that has a financial incentive to help you succeed. You can always rely on them. They're never going to give you an advice that ruins your business. Maybe in a different business, that's not really the case, but having mentors with someone maybe that holds you accountable and sees your fullest potential, that's very important. So that's number one. Number two, I would say, is definitely your self-talk, how you talk to yourself, how you coach yourself. If you beat yourself up when you're down, you're always going to be down. But if you find ways to bring yourself back up again, and that could be done with practice, then you'll be there. So self-talk is huge. And most importantly, accountability too. Like, who are you accountable to? Are you accountable to yourself only, or do you have mentors that you're accountable to?
I started to read the book that you mentioned to me, How to Talk to Yourself. I think that was the book name.
What to say when you talk to yourself?
Yeah, what to say when you talk. I started reading that. Yeah, as like 3-4 pages now. It's great.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's great. Like, I'm loving it. Tell me more about the business. So, like, an idea about the business you have, and you mentioned Nima as your mentor. Like, can you explain a little bit about what do you do exactly as a business?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work in financial services, and what we do is we help people with protection plan, investments, tax strategies when it comes to investing as well, and a lot of different things from debt management and financial planning. But what I love about it the most is when I, first looked into it, I thought it was one of those things where you sit in a cubicle and you're just dealing with a computer and numbers all day, because I hated math, right? So for me, it wasn't like something I was excited to hear about, like, oh, financial professional, what is that? But then when I saw the fact that I get to deal with people, that I get to educate people, that I get to be a consultant and give them value throughout different sessions, especially over Zoom, that really raised my belief, and it gave me an opportunity, because I'm like, wow, I can be flexible here. I can keep my job. I can get licensed, and it's a government license, right? So you can become a contractor. And then I can build my business slowly, build my book of clients over time, just like a mortgage broker, just like, a personal trainer, let's say. And once my income outpaces my full-time income, then I can actually walk away. Which, funny thing is, after, I believe, 2 months, I was licensed on the system. And then on my third month, I made about $3,500 part-time with my license. At the time, I was making maybe $3,200 with tips, working with my dad like 6 days a week.
Wow.
And then the month after that, I actually ended up making $10,000 part-time. The month after that, another $10,000 part-time. That's when I was like, okay, I got to go full-time, because this is amazing. So I ended up going full-time in about 5 months.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Let's, I have more questions in regard to your business, but let's take a break now for a bit.
Sure.
And come back with
Let's do it.
Fresh start. All right,
Let's do it.
We'll get back
Sounds
to you in a
great.
second. All right, guys, we're back. Bassel, thank you again for coming here and being
Thank you for having me.
with our first episode.
100%.
We ended up previously, we're talking about your business, you started to make more money as more you do it. You started as a part-time, and then now you're doing it as a full-time. And
right.
as I know, you are now having your own team and building your team to have their own team, right? Can you tell me a little bit about this, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially, when you start out in our industry, just like any other industry, you can be a contractor providing services, making sales, right? Getting compensated for obviously providing those services. But then later on, you could also become an agency owner, right? You can start your own agency and then obviously have a team and then make passive income from the revenue that's being generated within your agency. It's the same thing as being, let's say, a personal trainer, getting your own clients, working at a gym, and then let's say opening your own gym and then hiring other personal trainers that have a common mission as well. They're contracted, right? They make their own income and everything from helping their own clients. And because you provided that system, you provided the brand, you provided the location, everything like that, you as a business owner now get to profit off that, right? And make passive income. It's the same thing in our industry.
I see. And what makes the people to go directly through you guys rather than going to the like insurances themselves and trying to go to the companies rather than going in a third party?
Yeah, that's a great question. So now you're talking more about a corporation structure, essentially. So you can start out as an agent, let's say. You can be a contracted agent within that, let's say, agency or within that company, let's say. And then later on, you can climb up the ranks by being, let's say, a sales manager, being a district manager, let's say, right? And you can make your income that way. But the highest you can get to is a CEO. And we all know, like, how often do you see CEOs being promoted from within the company?
Yeah. So, like, there is a lot of people, they like to work, for instance, for the companies, being their own managers and that. So, if there is a team, someone who's trying to build himself in that, like, do you look for the people who they want to build themselves and build their own company, or just also the people who work as managers in companies?
Absolutely, yeah. So for me personally, I offer the opportunity to everyone because I believe that, I'm here to help someone become the best version of themselves, just like I did that through the industry. And at the end of the day, I want to offer that to everyone. Now, I can't judge and say who's exactly going to do it, who's exactly going to be coachable, who's exactly going to come through. But my job is just to spread the education and the value. And at the end of the day, the right people will follow. So I give the opportunity to everyone. I don't know if this person is going to end up having an agency and becoming a franchisee with us. I don't know that, right? This might be an individual that just comes in and brings in maybe referrals on a part-time basis. That's still a win-win because not only do we educate that person as well, we help them elevate their identity, but at the same time, we give them an opportunity where they're able to obviously operate as well.
And the lessons and the education that you guys provide, is it through the same system that schools have, or like a system is being built by a business owner or the institution that you're working with?
Yeah, absolutely. So you get a government license, essentially. So you take a course within the government. You can take that through the school system. You can take it online. At the end of the day, you can go through school and let's say, for example, become a CFA, a chartered financial analyst, but that usually takes 10 years and then you're managing portfolios. You could also become a financial professional through school. Like one of my good friends, for example, Vikas, he went to SFU when he started in the business with us, and he started very part-time as well. He was actually graduating for finance from SFU. And when he graduated a year before that, he started joining the weekly sessions that we had, because we do Saturday university sessions, as you know, and we educate about the banking system, right? Things that Canadians should know. He started coming to those sessions, didn't really do anything in business. He just wanted to learn more about finance. And he was noticing like, wow, I'm actually learning a lot more here than I learned 4 years in school. And then after his graduation, his job or the offer he got at the time was to work as a financial professional / financial advisor at the bank, making maybe like $2,500, $3,000 a month. But he saw a lot of people around him in the same industry, you know, from the sessions he was coming, and their income started to elevate. You know, they started to also change their lifestyle as well. And he's like, well, now I can just come here, get licensed, and I can make way more. So why not just go this route? Funny enough, now he's been in the business for about 5 years. Shout out to Vikas, he's amazing. I believe he's on path to cross 500K of income right now.
Oh, wow.
And he's my age. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's impressive.
100%.
Sure. And so I'm looking at it from the perspective of people, like looking at it from a distance. When they come along with people who have in the same institution, they might have this question saying, okay, where's your licenses from? Are you advising me the same thing that the bank would advise me? That's one. And does the certificate you have, is it the same level as the university would give? And what is the difference?
100%, yeah. So the license that you get, depending on the services you help with, you have insurances, you have investments. Investments could be the CIFC, which is Canadian Investments Funds course, LQP, which would be the insurance license. So that's lifelong qualification process. Those are both government licenses. You can actually take them through ICBC as well, especially for the LQP. The CIFC is more throughout the MFDA, which is Mutual Fund Association of Canada. So essentially, if you go through getting your license is just a piece of paper, brother. Like, that's just not really teaching you much. It's just showing you how to operate within the industry, and you have access to contracts and stuff like that. But where you actually get educated is more so in the field. It's the same thing as, let's say, a electrician, for example, can take their red seal, but if they don't apply the information with the help of a mentor, if they're not in the field, let's say, they're probably not going to be a great electrician. Maybe they won't stick to it. But if you have them now working as an electrician before they even, let's say, get into the field by themselves, they're going to develop confidence. They're going to develop knowledge in the industry. They're going to develop experience. So with us, yeah, you can get the license through us, through our brokerage and everything like that. And, you can obviously operate your business too. Or you can go through the school system. It's just that the school system for me didn't make sense because, again, I had a lot of people around me that were in finance that went to the school system and they didn't learn, what we're learning here, for example, even in 4 to 5 years.
I see. And do you think there's going to be a difference from what people learn from a university than what are you providing to your team?
100%. Because if you think about it, a professor just provides information. He doesn't show you how to apply that information, right? However, with us, or when you work in the field in general, with any institution or company per se, you're also being trained in the field. So that's going to give you a lot more experience how to actually apply the knowledge rather than just reading the books and looking at theories and everything like that.
So like more applicable things to use, not only to learn about it, right?
Absolutely.
So the thing, like you mentioned about like electrician and the red seal, like the thing with them is you have hours, you have to finish them. Then you're going to become, they're going to give you the red seal. They cannot give you the red seal only knowing the knowledge because the job is important is in the field. Is it the same thing that happening with you guys? Is it like you must have hours and dealing with people and having situation in person? Then we got to go to the part you have the education part?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have a system in place, making sure that everyone is, doing their best job, right? Most ethical, most legal and everything like that, where you have supervision in the first 2 years. So you're not allowed to make actually any sales without consulting your supervisor first and then approving. You could actually lose your license because of that as well. So there's heavy regulation, heavy supervision as well. Plus, with our system, we always recommend doing field training before even getting licensed. That's why we say, hey, you should, book your first 5 calls. We can show you how to do it. Try out the business, see if it's for you. And then after that, if you want to get licensed, then we can help you with that process as well.
I see. Then do you come across people saying, okay, why I should take an advice from you rather than taking it from somebody working in the bank, studied the university, having a degree, took it from like a known university and is popular, good professors, and all the world operating the same way? Why should I take advice from you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. I mean, we get that sometimes, right? At the end of the day, it's the same difference as, let's say, I can go online, I can go on YouTube, and I can look up workouts and how to get back in the gym and how to be fit. Why should I hire a personal trainer? Like if I were to ask you, for example, what do you think are the benefits of hiring a personal trainer? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Like guide me to do the right exercise that fits my body and my goals, of course.
Exactly. It's more tailored to your goals, right? More tailored to your vision. So working with somebody like me, for example, or anyone in our team in general, you have somebody who is being a consultant to you. They're customizing everything that they're building according to your goals and whys, not just focusing on, pushing out a product. And at the same time, you're getting that personal relationship. You're getting someone who does review sessions with you, and you're getting educated throughout the whole time as well. So not only do you get amazing products, amazing services from many different financial institutions, but then at the same time, you get to be educated about it. So the whole point of the education that we do is to get people's understanding to a level that matches our understanding. So when it comes down to the decision-making process, they're making their own decision. We're not making that decision for them.
Then, do you come across where, because like it happened where I have a friend, he told me that he got an advice from somebody who's working in that industry, and it was a very bad advice for me. And I saw him, he did that with other people. And again, he's still working and still operating the same way. I'm sure you get a lot of that. So how usually do you deal with it, with these?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have people like that in every industry, no matter where you look at it. There's doctors out there that are great doctors. You can go see them whenever you need to. There's doctors that always take vacations. They never pick up your call, right? They're the worst to deal with. So every industry has good and bad, if you look at it. But the reality is, the reason I'm so blessed to be in the team that I'm in is because we have such a great bulletproof system to help people actually achieve the right things going forward. And we're intentional when it comes to helping people, not just focusing on making a sale. So the reality is, that's why there's a lot of supervision and a lot of regulation. And I've seen individuals get caught, and getting their licenses terminated or getting suspended. But the reality is, with our systems and how we build things, we make sure that everyone is operating in the best way possible. And then what we notice is that people that don't operate in that way or don't have the right intentions, naturally, what's funny is they get filtered out.
Right. Like the sense that you mentioned, I totally agree with it. And also I apply it in my life too. But the thing is, when you have a word of mouth, it's, as a salesman as well, it's the biggest marketing ever. And it could hurt the business or it could benefit, right? And like for myself, when I operate with customers and they have information from somebody else, that's okay. Let's say this industry, they call it like, it's not helpful for us, or we didn't get any benefits, and all you guys are the same, right? Dealing with those pressurizing that, what do you think is the next move? Are you like, for instance, working in a way where you want to clear this message for your team specifically, or just in general? Because I know that not all the companies are the same.
100%, yeah. So first thing I'd always start with is provide more value through education, right? So first I'd ask more questions like, hey, why do you think that is? What kind of experience have you had before? Who did you come across? So that's the first thing I would do. Collect more information and more data. And then after that, I would just proceed to educate and give them suggestions, only if they're willing to. So if they're not willing to, there's just no point of going back and forth because they're not willing to listen. But if I ask questions like, hey, I completely get where you're coming from. I mean, the financial industry obviously has good and bad, just like every other industry. But would it be okay if I cleared up some things for you and I give you the right education perhaps? Or would it be okay if I asked you a couple questions? Or would it be okay if I gave you a couple suggestions? If the person says yes, now they're willing to get educated. They're willing to have a chat, then I can proceed to do so.
100%. And that takes a lot, bro. Like,
takes a lot of patience.
Takes a lot of patience, a lot of talking to do, a lot of explanation you need to do. It's tough. Like, I've been there once in my own business I'm proceeding right now. And yeah, I can tell like how these things are like very hard to do. And a lot of pressure.
Absolutely.
Which is great. That's how you deal with it, actually. Like, I'm inspired by that. Let's talk a little bit about entrepreneurship in general.
For sure.
Business owners. Do you think this is for everyone, entrepreneurship?
That's a really good question. So entrepreneurship is great. Do I think it's for everyone? No. I don't think it's for everyone because I believe the world does need employees, right? Economy would not have moved forward or evolved or any way if we didn't have employees. We need nurses, we need doctors, right? So we're very thankful for that. However, entrepreneurship as a whole is for some people. So for example, it's for people that are willing to work the long hours. It's for people that are willing to go for delayed gratification versus instant gratification. Delaying your profit, delaying your joy, delaying your happiness until later, and going through obviously the trenches in the beginning. They have to be willing to make sacrifices. They have to be willing to maybe cut their time with certain people. You have to make sacrifices even when it comes to you as a person. So the reality is they have to elevate and let go of a lot of different things. And not a lot of people are willing to do so. Now, I myself, I knew the price. So for example, when I was working in the restaurant, yeah, I loved working there. I loved operating my dad's business. But for some odd reason, I just felt like I just don't belong here. Like, I know I can do better. I know I could do more. I know I can provide more value. It's not just about making a wrap and just finishing the service and that's it. And they don't even know my name. It's about building something, and I had a feeling deep down. I'm like, man, I didn't come to Canada just to work a job. Like, sure, this is a family business, but am I going to be in the restaurant for the rest of my life? Because that's not something I want to do. And for me, that's really what excited me to go through entrepreneurship, because I've been through a lot of pain. I've had multiple jobs. I've worked in different industries. I even left and tried to get into sales with like construction, cars, right? Different things. Never worked out for me. But the reason I kept pursuing it was because I knew I was going on the right path if I had that much pain I was going through.
Impressive. You know, like nowadays, there are too much trends, and you see on social media and everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody's promoting to be business owners. You have to be successful. And in some way, it kind of bothers me because the way that they push it out there, if you're not a business owner, you're a loser in life. But I don't believe this is the
That's
case.
not true at all.
Yeah, because like you mentioned, it's not for everyone. That's the first thing.
Nope.
And if it's not something you're willing to do, of course, then you have other things to do. Right?
Absolutely.
If you don't know the reason you're doing it. But the people who want to do it and they just don't like end up not doing it, do you think it's just people are too soft to become something to themselves, or is just the mind game?
Yeah, I think it's really a combination of different things. Again, it comes really down to where you're spending your time most, what your programming is. If you have people around you that are always pulling you down, that are always negative, it's hard for you to build up that belief, because the biggest thing that people are missing today, if you really think about it, is belief. You know, one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people don't succeed in any business in general is because maybe number one, they don't believe in the business and what it can bring, or number two, they don't believe in themselves. Now, believing in the business is very easy. Once you make money, you're like, okay, this works. Awesome. Let's go make it happen. Just like with your business, when you guys first started, boom, right away. As soon as you got your first paycheck, you're like, let's go. You know what I mean? But the part that stops a lot of people in general is believing in themselves. And that's one thing I struggled with in the beginning. And I still, overcome it today. I still struggle with it today. But that's why I'm working hard every single day to build up the one main thing to me, which is belief. So if they have the right belief, they have the right association, they have the right programming, and at the same time, they have the right why, just like we talked about earlier, the right pulling factor, anyone can succeed. But if they don't have things in play, then, dude, you're just dealing cards. You know what I mean?
Awesome. So I think most of the people, when they go to entrepreneurship or starting their own, being a self-employed, they have something called, I want to reach my freedom. So my question is, what is the freedom for you as Bassel?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, freedom can be defined in many different ways. For me, freedom is wanting to work because I want to work, not because I have to work. That's what freedom is. And having the time freedom to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want it to do, without taking any permission from anyone. So that could look like anything to anyone. But for me, that looks like, for example, to give you an idea, I can live the life that I want to live. I can travel whenever I want to travel. I can live 6 months in Greece and 6 months here if I want to, or I can go and buy something and not worry about the bill. Or, for example, send a certain amount of money back home to where I'm from to my relatives and make sure that they're okay. They got food, they got, everything that they need. Now my freedom looks a lot different. In the beginning, my freedom was more like, hey, I just want to make a little bit of money so I can go full time. Now my freedom is more like, man, I just can't wait to see how much value this opportunity can give to someone. Just by helping them get the license, by helping them make their first, paycheck, whatever it is. To me, that's what freedom is now. It's pouring into others and creating a massive, massive network of influence where if, God forbid, something happens to me, these people can at least remember, like, damn, man, this guy showed me that I can believe in myself.
That's great. That's great goals, to be honest, and a way for keep going every day, for sure.
100%.
But how long you've been in the business for?
I got licensed in April 2022, and I started very part-time, so just over 3 years.
Over 3 years.
Yeah, just over 3
And
years.
over 3 years, you already reached to the freedom you're looking for, or you're still working on it?
That's the best part, man. It always elevates. It always elevates. I always thought about it from a destination point of view. Once I get to this milestone, once I make this much, once I do this. But the reality is, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And the journey for me now is like, there's no end place. There's no end destination. The destination is the journey. It's every single day. And if I wake up and I'm healthy and I'm able to operate and I'm able to move, I don't take that chance lightly. So for me, I want to make sure that I'm on it every day to a point where I can achieve that best version of me. And I'll never reach that because I know for a fact I'm getting better every day and I have more aspirations and more dreams every day. Like in the beginning, it started with me making, hey, I just want to make an extra $2,000 part-time so I can pay off my debt. Now it's more like, dude, I can't wait to like buy a mansion and bring all my relatives from back home and have them live there and take care of their retirement. Or I can't wait until Antonio, one of my guys, for example, who was a mechanic and he went full-time with us, I can't wait until he makes his first $10,000 in a month. You know, seeing how he's going to feel, what he's going to do with that money, what to bless his family with. That's the part that, you know, excites me the most now.
That's great, man. That's great. The reason why I ask this question is because the idea or the fantasy that everybody who starts a business, they have. And especially with the social media nowadays. People think that the moment you start the business, money going to come in and you're going to become within 2-3 years.
No, not at all.
You're going to become a millionaire.
Not at all.
I know it's not. And this message is being like aggressively on the internet and most of the people, they do the business and they stay 1 year, the survival mode, and this next year, nothing. And they just quit it. It's like, oh, this is not for me anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you say for these people?
Well, everyone needs to understand that every business has a survival phase, a structuring phase, which is the building phase, and then the booming phase. So usually the survival phase is maybe 2 to 3 years, right? In the first couple of years, you might not make any money within any business. I remember my dad, for example, when he opened up his first location on West Broadway, back then, we still have conversations about it to this day. It took him about 5 years to make his first dollar in profit. Now, think about it. What if he gave up after year 2?
It wouldn't be the businesses after businesses, of course.
Absolutely. You know, it wouldn't be $1 million business today, right? So that's the survival phase. If you can get through that and you understand how important that is, that's where you build the identity. That's where you build the character. That's when you restructure yourself.
Do you think the business you're going to start with, it has to succeed no matter what, even though it took 10 years? Or it's okay, like if this business doesn't work, you're going to go to another business and start to build one?
It's totally fine. Yeah, it's totally fine. You know, we grow up all our lives because we're programmed by the school system to think that failure is not an option. You know, do not chase failure. If you fail your test, you know, you're a failure in life. Or if you fail this, you're a failure in life. The reality is failure is a part of the journey to success. So if you start a business and you fail at it, that's a good thing because at least you tried something. You know, like kudos to you, man, for starting a business, going into entrepreneurship. Not a lot of people are willing to do it. The fact that you're even able to do it, the fact that you started it, that's one thing that you need to make sure that you give credit to yourself on, right? So if it fails, here's one thing that you need to look at it. What is the lesson here? Because in life, if you don't succeed at anything you do, there's at least a lesson you can walk away and take it with you. You know, so you got to look at the lesson. Okay, well, maybe this business didn't work out, maybe because I didn't have the right, you know, information around me. I didn't have the right markets maybe, or I didn't have the right people to show me the path. That doesn't mean you should not try another business. You should try another business. And even if you fail at that too, who cares? Every time you fail at a business, you pick up a new skill too. You learn more about yourself. You know, my mentor says this too. He's like, 90% of businesses fail in the first 2 years. But 90% of businesses that start from entrepreneurs succeed.
Wow.
Why? Because they built the identity. Going back to what we talked about with the rich and wealthy. You know, do you want to become a wealthy person that has the character, the skills, right? The mindset, the belief, or do you want to be a rich person that just has the money? Because if you're a rich person and they take everything away from you, they throw you in the desert, they'll come back 5 years later, you're still in a fetal position. But if you're a wealthy person, they take everything away from you, dude. They throw you out there, they'll come back 5 years later, you built a whole town. That's the person I want to become.
That's great, man. That's a great plan. I'm really enjoying this and having more conversation with you. If a final message to anyone who's scared to bet on themselves, what would you say to them?
Take action as soon as possible.
Action as soon as possible.
Take action as soon as possible. Because if you're fearful and you feel like, hey, this is not really something I want to do, I don't feel like I'm going the right way, that's actually the exact right way that you need to go. But just make sure that you have the right people around you. Make sure you have the right belief, the right why. And most importantly, just watch how you talk to yourself. That's the biggest thing. Don't beat yourself up. Years of my life, I kept beating myself up, and just talking crap to myself, thinking that that's going to motivate me. But once I started elevating that and I started speaking positively to myself, loving myself, right? Saying good stuff to myself, everything changed.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Thank you very much, bro,
Of course.
for the first episode.
Thank you guys for having me. This was great.
Absolutely,
Amazing.
absolutely, bro. I know a lot of people can listen to this. Is gonna touch something in them.
I hope so. Yeah.
Definitely gonna motivate them, and if they wants to take a step forward, for sure, from what you just said. And yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
100%. Of course. Thank you guys for having me. This was great. This was incredible.
Great. We'll see you next time, guys.